That.
Good.
Welcome to Talk to Him, a show where we discuss self help strategy, money, music, fashion, education, relationships, and how it all links to financial success. Be sure to hit that like button. And while you're at it, follow, right? It costs you nothing to just follow and share with your friends, folks. I'm your host for this show. My name is James Levesque. Talk to him. Man, come vibe with me, folks. Come vibe with me. Listen, ladies and gents, we got an incredible guest today, right? We're joined by my main man, Paris Prophetic. He's a Boston native, elite basketball trainer, father, nonprofit founder, and someone who's lived both the highs and the hard lessons of the game and business. P, how we doing, brother? How's everything?
Hey man, God is good, man. I'm glad to be on here, man. I appreciate you having me come on the platform. Getting on with somebody from back home in the city and doing this podcast, something I really wanted to do for a while now. So man, I just thank you for having me, and we're gonna get some good stuff today for sure.
Absolutely, man. Yo, so P, for people who just meeting you,
Yeah.
Who is Paris Prophetic beyond basketball? Who is he?
Man, well, beyond basketball, I mean, number one, man, I'm a servant of the kingdom of heaven.
Yes,
I'm a
sir.
kingdom of heaven representative first and foremost. Secondly, man, I'm just a kid from Dorchester, Massachusetts, who was able to make it out, and find out who I really was, who the Most High traded me to be, and I'm just riding it out, man. That's it.
I love that. I love that, man. I love that. Growing up in Boston, what role did basketball play in your life early on?
Man, man, basketball was really the basis of who I became. And it was funny. My I didn't start hooping until I was like 10 or 11. So
Mm.
there was a lot of cats that we came up with. They was hooping 6, 7, 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
They hooping in no books, no ball. And my grandparents raised me, and they were really into that scene. You know what I'm saying? So I started off playing in the backyard, playing on the street with my friends. Grandparents got me a hoop in the yard, and then I kind of was able to get my skill level to a certain point, and then moved on. Started hooping down at the Dorchester Y.
Yep.
Playing Jimmy Jam, R.I.P. Coach Greer. You know what I'm saying? Was out there playing with some greats like Mike McGee, guys like that, Courtney Eldridge.
Yep.
Guys from Dorchester that really put on for the city, and it really helped give me direction. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Grow up in Boston, there's so many different ways that you can go. And, since I didn't have my mom and dad, my grandparents raised me, like it was easy. It could have been easy for me to turn to the streets. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? But basketball gave me something that motivated me to try to pursue greatness in something. It kept me off the streets. I was a gym rat. I was always working out, trying to get better. It helped me build a lot of relationships with a lot of people that are still fruitful to this day.
Yeah.
And allowed me to learn a lot about life through the game. They say ball is life, and I can definitely say that's true. And basketball has taught me much more about life than life
Mm.
has taught me about basketball. So I'm very thankful for basketball. I'm very thankful for being someone who came up in the system in the city of Boston in basketball. Because now, going state to state and seeing different cities and different basketball coaches, I realized how blessed I was.
I feel you on that, man. I definitely feel you on that. And let me ask you this: when did you realize, like, because you're in the training business, right? When did you realize training athletes could be just more than just a passion, right? It could actually be a career path for you.
Well, it was crazy because like I was always a gym rat, and I remember I used to go up to the Quincy Y, and I
Yep.
used to hoop, and there was a dude. He's pretty well known now, Lino Sanchez,
Mm.
and I think he has a prep school, and I think he got his son's a pretty good player in the city. And Lino, he actually had just got out of jail. I was about 15, 16, and he just came out. He just got out. He was up there hooping, and he would see me in the gym every day. And he ended up giving me this. He wrote a bunch of drills on his white line paper, front and back, of like workouts to do every day during the summer. And I
Mm.
remember, like, I carried that paper with me, like, that whole summer. Like, that joint was wrinkled. That joint was taped up. That joint, the ink was sweated out. Cause, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like, it was just a lot of things wrong. Um, I'm sorry, I had to kick the dog. The dog started taking his shit on the porch right in front of me. Like, bro, you're bugging. Like, right in front of me, his ass is grass after this. After,
Yo.
I'm gonna talk to his ass in a second, but no, man. So I once he gave me that sheet, I started as my career progressed. I started like making up my own drills
Mm.
like that, not even knowing that training would ever be an option.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because there was when there was no industry up until a certain point. And I remember I had a nonprofit in Boston. It was called the Love Movement.
Mm.
And part of what we was doing was using basketball to really try to keep kids off the street. We did a couple of like, anti-violence tournaments, stuff like that. And I was working kids out for free, just trying to like build relationships, keep kids off. And then I remember there was an organization that actually started in Boston. It was called Coach Up.
Yep.
And that's when, I remember I was in college. I used to watch the Gannon Baker DVDs.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, like him and maybe one other person was the only people that was like really had these DVDs. So when Coach Up came, I was like, well, shoot, let me jump on here, and all the stuff I've been doing for free, I could start to get paid for it. I remember myself and AJ's trainer Brandon Ball. We was
Mm.
the first two on Coach Up, and I ended up really doing really well on that. I was ranked like number one in the country on it, and I started looking at the business model,
Yeah.
and I was like, why am I going through a third party where they're taking a percentage of what I'm making,
Yep.
and why don't I just do it on my own? So
Ooh.
at that point, I started Hoops Masters basketball, and I was going all through Massachusetts training, New Hampshire. I mean, I think I even was going to Rhode Island. Like I was really moving, and it was something that I was able to take with me as a business model, no matter where I go.
I like that, man. I like that. So let me ask you this, right? What were some of the early sacrifices that you had to make to really take this like seriously? What were some of the sacrifices? Because I know there's definitely sacrifices that comes when you're, going up that echelon
Yeah.
of in this profession.
Man, like probably the biggest sacrifice I had to make was when in 2017 when I decided to leave Boston. There's a lot going on. I had the pro team at the time. I was in a really toxic relationship with my daughter's mother, and things are just kind of like it was to the point where I was in in the politics, community service. One of the kids I was coaching had just got killed. It was like a big story in the
Yeah.
news or whatever, and it was a situation where, like, for me to be able to continue doing what I was doing in the game and growing in the game as a trainer, as a coach, and progressing, and just for my life in general, it was like I had to sacrifice my city. I had to leave home. I had to leave my daughter and essentially sacrifice a relationship with her in
Mm.
order to be able to pursue this career. And
Mm.
when I left Boston, I always say that like I had no idea where this would take me. And many times, like I'd be in foreign countries, like in Dominican Republic or Greece, and I'd be sitting on these balconies, and in this hotel, and you looking over the city or mountains or the beach,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
sitting there, and you like it's crazy because like man, when I got on that Amtrak train and left Boston that day, I never knew. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no possible way that I could have seen or thought it would get to this.
Yeah.
Like to be able to do this worldwide, to be known worldwide, like, but like you said, there's a cost for it. I remember when I got on the Amtrak and I told my daughter's mom I was leaving, and things are really bad between me and her. And I remember I said to her, I was like, next time you see me, I'll be on ESPN.
Mm.
And she laughed and she was talking shit like me shit, da 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 da, nigga da da da. But sure enough, I ended up on ESPN coaching.
Ooh.
We was on ESPN three on three different occasions when I was coaching at North American University 3 years ago, and that's why I got that as my profile picture on IG, because that's just a reminder. Like you can really manifest, and you can really say something, and as crazy as it sounds, you can turn that into reality.
That's true.
But there is sacrifices to it.
Yeah.
It's just what are you willing to give up and what are you willing to sacrifice for? A lot of people they sacrifice a lot for wrong things. But if you want success, it's gonna sacrifice whether it's something. Hopefully, it's not like your daughter, but it's gonna sacrifice your time, your energy, your money. It's gonna take some type of investment in self
Right.
to get that return on investment when on the island of Crete, looking over the mountains, and you a kid from Morris Street, Dorchester.
Right. Right. Yo, let me ask you this, right? So, two-part question. Do you
Uh-huh.
think you could have been doing what you was doing if you was still in Boston? What do you? Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
That's okay. Nah. And I hate, it is a what's the it sucks to say that, right? And I say this not to down my city. The Bible says a prophet will get no honor in his hometown.
Oh,
And
yes, it
what that a
does.
lot of times what that means is we all came up the same way. We came up hooping, we came up battling. We got out of high school. Some went to go play ball, some didn't. Some like everybody started at the bottom. So sometimes it's hard for people to see something in you because they so used to you.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
Or you can't. They hold you to who you used to be, and when you're trying to progress and move, they can't. It's hard for them cognitively to see that. So a lot of times in your own city, there's a glass ceiling
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
over your head. Like you can only go so much. And what I realized was I got to the point where I didn't want to be Boston great. I wanted to be internationally great. And in
Mm.
order to do that, I had to learn, I had to see stuff outside of what I knew. I
Right.
had to see how different places move, different things, and I had to expand my mind. And it was because of that I was going to be successful. And I think that's no shout out to anyone that's in the city, that grew up in the city and have certain amount of success or whatever. But I felt like my story was just it was too big, and the vision and what the Most High had in me was too big just for Boston. But wherever I go, it's always Boston. Like I always rep it. I always let everybody know, like that's where I'm from. That's what built me.
Yep.
Um, and there was times I think when I left Boston, I was mad at the
Mm.
city. Like I was mad. Like
Why?
I
Why was you
felt
mad? Why was you mad?
I felt like, so I had the protein. I felt like it wasn't supported. You know what I'm saying? I feel like there was a lot of cliques within the Boston basketball community.
Oh yeah.
And that they kind organically grew over time or whatever. And for me, my thing was I was always by myself.
Yep.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know how it is. Like, if you from Mission Hill, you got everybody behind you. If you from nigga, HP, like you any of them places, bro, like you got a whole bunch of people behind you. Like I remember
Right.
we used to, like I remember even from Carbon Square where I'm from, like anytime we at Washington Park, Mike McGee playing, like everybody is like they behind the Mike McGee could smack somebody upside the head. You know what I'm saying? He could smack somebody upside the head, and you can't do nothing. That's my guy. You know what I'm saying? But you be like, hey, Mike, how Mike get? Like, he don't take no shit. He'll smack a nigga, and you can't do nothing because it's 30 niggas from Cobblin Square
That's
to
true.
all do the park. You know what I'm saying? And like for me, I'll be out there hooping and I'm having to go against all these niggas, the Wills and the Stevies and all these niggas. And even if I do have a good game or I am getting at them, it almost didn't matter because I didn't have there's nobody clapping for me like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
You
does
feel
make
what
a
I'm
big
saying?
difference.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
bro.
support, that
And
support makes a big difference.
that shit, and I didn't even realize that was the missing component until I got older and more mature. So between all those things, I was just angry. And I stopped. Like I remember my man Smooth is like, yo, he's like this. He's like niggas don't even know. He's like this nigga P boycotted 4 years in a row all the summer tournaments. Niggas was trying to
Wow.
get me to play, and I just for like 3-4 years I just boycotted because I was mad. And but I had to go and leave and then look back and realize like there was really nobody specifically that I was even mad at, or no one even as a group, or like I couldn't say like I was mad at them niggas down at the Tobin, or I was bad. Like no, there was really no one I was really mad at. Like I realized the support that I was supposed to get really had nothing to do with other niggas. And then what I also realized is at the end of the day, even like even if nobody supports you, nigga, you gotta believe in yourself. And
Word.
the minute I started worrying about other people, that's when I stopped worrying, being focused in on myself.
Yep.
So that was a lesson that I learned from all that. From all that.
So let me ask you this, right? Because you mentioned the relationship that you had to sacrifice with your baby girl, right? With your daughter,
Yeah.
right? How's that relationship, right? How's that relationship forming, right? And then also, um, what do you want your children to understand about success? What do you want them to kind of get towards it? Because eventually she's gonna get older, right? And
Right.
I'm pretty sure, like, people's probably feeding her different things and saying that your daddy, blah blah blah, all these different things. But eventually you're gonna have that convo, right?
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
what do you want to basically tell her? Different sacrifices. How's that relationship? But then also, what do you want your children to understand about success?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess to answer the first question is, really right now there is no relationship. Her mother won't let me talk to her, won't let me see her. She done took all the pictures off online, so I can't even see what she looks like.
Crazy.
She's created a kind of a fantasy world. She got a new boyfriend. She had a kid with him. So she had a son before when I first met her. She had a son. So she got 3 kids, 3 different baby daddies. But she's saying that all the kids is the dude she's with now, and all that type of stuff. But I don't talk bad about her because
P, you breaking up. You breaking up. Hold on. You breaking up.
today, hear
Yeah, 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 yeah. I can hear you now. You good right now. Stay where you at.
can you
Yep,
hear
go ahead.
me?
I can hear you
There we
now.
go. My
Yep, you
bad.
good.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I was, I try not to talk bad about my baby mama. Of red flags that happen, right? That I didn't move on.
Yep.
So you make your bed, you lie in it. But we don't have a relationship right now at all. Which is pretty is unfortunate. She's about 10 years old now. But like you said, is that there's gonna be a day soon she'll be old enough, to be able to communicate, try to reach out. And I try, my main goal was to make sure that I lived a life and I became successful enough that if she wanted to know who her daddy was, she could just Google me. Like
Right.
just type, and her name is actually Alea Paris Cherry, so she's
Ooh.
named after me.
Yep.
So you can just go on the computer and if I don't know what's being said or not said, but if you want to know what your daddy been doing all he hasn't been with you, you go and you can see me motivating, inspiring others all over the world through basketball and see what I stand for and see me. This is not the first podcast that I got on and talked about her. So
Yeah.
I've left a paper trail, right? I've left
Right.
evidence. So whatever she's being told, and I tell her mother that all the time. I said, "You're winning up until the day she can find out who I am for herself."
Ooh, ooh.
And yeah, she asked she said to me one time, she was like, you missing out. She got all these stuff in the room, t-shirts and posters that says Paris on it, because that's her middle name.
Right.
And no, I was like, I'm not her. That's her staying connected to who her daddy is. But every time you go in the room, you got to think about me when you
Mm.
see that.
Right.
So I trust in the timing, in the timing of the Most High, right? Because sometimes you could want situation. I could have went through the court. You know what I'm saying? My cousin Sharice Perry, she's, what I'm saying, she's very well known, black lawyer. She's actually director of the probate court at
Ooh.
BMC. Like, I could pull strings and do this and do that and to get to my daughter. But I trust the timing of everything. And when she looks up and see who her daddy is and see what I stand for, she'll see it. And then to answer your second question is, the message to her is that whatever dreams and purpose that God put in your heart, you gotta chase it no matter what. Like, you remember the Bible, they had Abraham about to sacrifice his son Jacob. Like
Yeah.
how much are you willing to give? Because at the end of the day, when we stand before the Most High, He's gonna ask me about me. He's not gonna ask me about my baby mama. He's not gonna ask me about what my mama did, my daddy, my grandparents. He's not even gonna ask me about my daughter. He's gonna
Right.
ask me about me. And he's gonna
Right.
ask my daughter about her. She's not gonna have to answer for me. She got to answer for her. So at the end of the day, as long as you figure out who you're supposed to be and you ride that out, that's the important message. And I hope that she sees the that as much as I love her and I was willing to sacrifice that relationship, I hope she sees the why. And I
Right.
hope that's inspiring.
Mm. Mm. Nah, you touch on a lot, man. And a couple of things I heard you touch upon is your relationship with the Most High God, right? When did that relationship like kind of like blossom? Was it something that you went through? Was it something that you just was like, yo, you know what? I'm really, even on your posts as well too. You know what I mean? You always
Yeah.
mention your relationship with God. When did that start?
Well, it's funny. My grandparents raised me. So, my mom died when I was 4. She drunk herself to death, and my dad, he was in and out of jail. And so my grandma was a Sunday school teacher. So we started off. She used to take me to church. She used to take me down to the big white church in Carbon Square.
Yep.
And so that was the first church we went to. And then we ended up going over to St. Mark's over there across the street from Latin Academy, that little church right there on Humboldt.
Yep.
And so I was raised in the church. So I remember I was playing pro ball. I think I was out in Virginia Beach. Matter of fact, me and my man Mercury Fisk from Worcester. We was out there hooping for this pro team. I got hurt. I came back. I really wasn't doing nothing, and I was down. I was hooping. I was actually at Walsh Park, and there was these kids down there, and they was from oh my God, I can't remember the name of the gang right now. But they had a little gang, and I just thought, and one of the kids that was hooping was like related to a little young boy that I was like, trying to talk to, and I ended up, started kind of like wanting to do like something to try to help the kids. So I was working with City Mission Society, which is a faith-based nonprofit downtown, and
Yep.
they helped me start this faith-based nonprofit, which was the Love Movement. So I was involved there, and then I was over at Morning Star. I was one
Okay.
of the youth ministers over there at Morning Star Baptist Church, and you know, at the same, at the same time, I was involved with a lot of politics. Like, we was working with like Tito Jackson, we was working with Conan Harris, we was working with my man C Mills, Jamala Crawford.
Yep.
Like, we was
Yep.
doing this is Ayana when she had the long hair.
Yep.
Like,
Yep. Yep.
like this is like there was a lot going on, and what I saw, bro, and is I saw a lot of crazy stuff behind the scenes of
Ooh.
the churches, and you know, a lot of the stuff would kind of, we live in a time of revelation, right? We seen the Epstein files, we seen a lot of stuff coming out, Diddy, a lot of pastors and all this, and I seen all that back then.
Really?
Like there's a lot of these ministers and the deacons and all that, like they Freemasons. You know what I'm saying? It's the big Prince Hall. You probably gonna have to delete this part. You don't gotta post this if you don't want. But if you do, I'm just gonna say it. Um, you know what I'm saying? And it was and what I started to realize, I remember I was at Morning Star and I started bringing these kids. It was Cedar Street gang.
Yep.
And we brought these kids into the church. And it was crazy because they already had a big youth group, but the youth group was kind of dead. But when I brought the kids from the street, most of these kids in the youth group knew these street kids from school, you know what I'm
Right.
saying, or the neighborhood. So it started getting really lit again. And at the time, Bishop Borders' son was a youth minister,
Yep.
John Borders. And it kind of started to be like, well, who's this dude from the outside coming in? He ain't the minister. Like, he ain't the minister's son. Like, instead of
Ooh.
looking at the fact that I'm bringing these kids into church,
Yeah.
that people start looking at the wrong things. And then a whole big scandal popped out with John Borders and got this girl pregnant and this, that, and the third. And then I was messing around with, the girl he got pregnant, his best friend, and it was a big scandal. So
Ooh.
basically, he had to come off of the youth minister position, and they basically told me I couldn't bring the kids to church no more.
Really?
Yeah. So they told me I couldn't. The kids that weren't basically welcome no more. And I started talking, going on social media, kind of exposing it. And they sent cats to my crib.
Really?
Like they sent men to my crib. Like, and it's crazy because one of the dudes they sent, who was the leader of the men's ministry at the time, is now my OG, Donald Osgood. He is street worker now.
Yeah.
But we cool now because he, you know what I'm saying? But like that was the type of stuff that was going on back then before everyone's eyes started to be open. And the craziness that went down, bro, was like when all that happened, that was the same time around the Mattapan massacre. Remember that?
The Mattapan
Remember
massacre.
the Mattapan massacre? Remember them four people got killed and they killed the girl with the baby
Yes,
and ran
yes,
up in
yes,
the
yes.
crib trying
Yeah.
to, yeah, that was right by Morning Star. And then Morning Star, after they wanted to go out and started doing photo ops and peace walks and stuff around the community after these people, lost their life. And I felt like, it was like it was a term that we would use. It was called poverty pimping. And it was
Yeah.
like, y'all out here profiting off of the death of our people. And you would see a lot of them, Eugene Rivers, a lot of these cats, Jeff, like a lot of these cats. And I remember I sat down with Eugene Rivers one time, and I was like, man, I had just met him. I seen him on CNN. I done seen him on the cover of Time magazine. I said,
Yep.
man, Pastor, like I want to know like how you was able to really impact the streets and help change these youth lives. And he said, young man, he gave me his card. He said, I want you to call my secretary and make an appointment for us to have a 30-minute lunch conversation. And he said, I'm gonna show you how to get the money.
That's what he said.
I swear to God, this is what he told me. He said, I'm gonna show you how to get the money. And it was at that point, it was almost like being, for me, I was naive. Like I was just like zealous. And it was like finding out that Santa Claus didn't exist.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I didn't. He opened my eyes and made me see what it was, and that brought me out of the church. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I went to a couple of places. I was over there with Mini Yard Culpepper. Like and it was all the same game that everybody was running. So when I say like who I am and I talk about the Most High, like I'm not into the religion. I'm not into church. I'm into the kingdom. But I'm thankful that all those things happened. And what really when the young kid I was coaching got killed, and it really opened my eyes. And they brought me into this meeting in City Hall, and they had all the black ministers and police and all these politicians. And they was like, what's the number one thing that's killing, reason why our young people are getting killed in the street? And everyone had an opportunity to go on this board and write like three things. And at the end, they would tally to see like which three things people all agreed on.
Right.
And they had all these ministers in there, and I remember at the end, and they went up and tallied it, and they came up with the number one reason for black on black youth violence in Boston is because the police are racist.
And that's
And
not, yeah.
it blew my mind, but it opened my mind too because it made me realize like an ideology. Like I didn't realize like the game that was being played from the top. So I stopped feeling like I thought at one point like I could save the world, I could save the streets, but then I realized like the systems is so in place. It's more socio-economic than race because all these people that's making decisions is all getting way more money than us.
Word.
Like
Yeah, I
everybody in that
agree.
meeting was getting more money than I was at that point. Like I wasn't getting no money. I was still at my grandparents' crib on Moore Street. But
Right.
yet I'm here with senators and mayors and all that, and all these pastors, man, and it really opened my eyes up. And I had this funny thing I just posted. I said, man, now with all this information that's coming out, now everyone seems like the whole world's woke. But I was like,
Right.
yo, I've been saying this stuff for like 10 years. You see what I'm saying? And but again, I'm very thankful to had went through them things that I went through, coming from going from basketball into the politics, into the religion. Like it's all intertwined, bro. It's all intertwined. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Nah, man. Church hurt is a big hurt. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we kind of look at the church as like, all right, this is holy, trying to do the right thing. But then also, you like, man, church is a business. You know what I mean? Church is a big business. And a
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
time,
yeah,
these people,
yeah,
they take advantage. You know what I mean? They take advantage of people not knowing. They take advantage of, you know, just stuff, man. Let me ask you this, right? You
yeah.
mentioned, I remember the last time we was talking, right? You mentioned that, did you own or was a part of like an ABA team or something like that?
Yeah. So it was
How?
the Boston Conquerors, then we became New England Conquerors. So me and my man Jaron Smith, they call him Smooth. He from Springfield. We ended
Okay.
up hooping together at Fisher, and we ended up having an apartment together out in Malden. That's how I met him. And so we ended up starting this team. And ended up having a lot of like Boston, Boston names. We had Rasheem Benson, we had Montrell Jones, I had Kwame Thompson, I had Antonio Reyes. I had Mikhail Rubin.
Okay.
We had trying to think some other names that you may know. But then we had some cats coming from like New Hampshire. We had cats, we had a bunch of cats from all over that ended up, playing with us. And so we was down there at the bro, dang, I've been out the city for a while on American Legion Highway. What's the gym, bro? You know what I'm talking about.
On American Legion Highway, I
Yeah.
want to
Lena
say
Park.
Lena
Lena
Park.
Park.
Yep, yep, Lena
Yeah,
Park.
we was over there. Shout out to my man Reggie Carter. He was the director at the time. So we
Yep.
was doing our practices and games there. But being in the ABA, man, is a horrible investment. Number
Yeah.
one, so they make you pay like $300 per game for rest, just for the rest.
Wow.
Then you got to pay for your gym time. You know what I'm saying? You got to pay for your practice time. And, even though, Reggie, he had it hooked up, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was still charging. Jerseys. Then we had to do road games. So we paying for transportation on the road.
Yeah.
And, it was crazy because we had our very first practice. Actually, our first practice ever was at the old Dana Barrow's gym
Ooh.
in Stoughton. Not the one now. I'm talking about the old
Old joint.
joint.
Yep, 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 yep.
Old joint. And I remember we had Esco, um, and we had Montrell Jones, and I guess they both played together at Dorchester. We remember years ago. And apparently them brothers had some issues.
Ooh.
And by the time they ended the practice ended with them in a fist fight.
Both of them
I'm
got
talking
into a fist
about,
fight?
yeah, they got into a very first practice. They get into a fist fight at the end of
Oh.
practice. And they got to break it up. Oh, yeah, nigga, I'm going to shoot you, all this crazy stuff. So it was crazy. So from the very beginning of having that team, it was chaos. It was
Oh.
financial chaos, but it was chaos in general. Like I forgot who got hit in the mouth. Like, and they had the Celtics logo on the floor there.
Ooh.
bro, there was blood on the leprechaun, bro. Like blood on the leprechaun. I'm like, yo, we gotta clean this shit up. Like nigga, Dana Barris will come this motherfucker. Like, what y'all niggas doing? First practice, like blood on the leprechaun, bro. I'm like, yo, this shit crazy. And and you know, it just kind of, we had a lot of cats who grew up, you know, was known in Boston, played in high school, but a lot of cats that kind of had that untapped potential. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because you know, some of them cats like 6ix9ine who was getting out of jail. You know
Shout
what
out
I'm
to six
saying? Like he
nine.
had
That
just
was my
got out.
dude. Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
unfortunately he's locked up right now. Shout out to him. Esco, like, you know, played at Dorchester. Brilliant kid, got like almost perfect score on the SAT. Another young man, he's sitting in jail right now. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
there was a mission to that. We just not trying to help cats hoop, but we was really trying to help cats get their life together. And some of them did. Like out of, you know, some of these cats ended up like Kwame Thompson, he played many years overseas. Man, Eddie played many years overseas. But it was rough. It was really, really rough. And um it just became to the point where it's like I had put so much money into that and didn't see the return.
Right.
And we were trying to get the people in the city to support it, but at the same time they had another team going on. So a lot of cats was over there playing with them. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there was a lot that was going on, and it just, you know, on top of that, I was, you know, beefing my baby mama at home. Some fight on the inside, fight on the outside. So what ended up happening was that when I left, my man Smooth took over, and then they became the New England out of towners.
Okay.
So then they ended up running that up until about around right after COVID.
Yeah.
So it ended up being actually the longest running ABA team in Massachusetts history.
Wow.
So you know, I was very, you know, proud, even though it was wild. I was proud of had started it. And then, you know, shout out to Smooth and Ty and kept it going, even though they changed things up. And it was funny because when I left, I was even at odds with them. Like when I
Mm.
left, it was just like, nigga, fuck everybody. Cause you know, sometimes you don't know, you dealing with so many bullets is coming at you.
Yep.
You don't know where they coming from.
Right, right, right.
So
Yeah.
but when I left, they had to run stuff on their own. They were like, "Oh, we see why P was, you know, they see why, you know, why he was acting like this or whatever." But allowed them to build up skills to own their own stuff, to be owners. Then Smooth ended up having his own store up in the Saugus Mall, and then you
Right.
know Todd got his own business now. And we was street niggas, like, you know, like not street niggas like criminals, but like
Yeah,
we was
yeah, yeah.
niggas that we was out of school. You know, the ball shit was like this. You know what I'm saying? Smooth was done. He tore his Achilles playing Washington Park X League. So he was done at like 22, 23.
Right.
So we was all trying to figure it out. So I was very thankful for having that team because it really helped me learn how to lead and run a business, even and actually know what a good investment is versus a bad investment. Because to these days, cats is popping up with these ABA teams, TBL teams, and I just be shaking my head. I said, "Man, you about to go broke, bro. You about to go broke.
Yo, for
You
real.
better have some money, bro. You be
Yeah.
playing around."
Yo, this next section is called rapid fire, right? So I'm gonna
Yep.
just throw like a whole bunch of questions at you, and then you just answer them. Boom, boom. All right. So, you ready?
Yep.
Rapid fire. Biggest lesson basketball taught you about life.
Better believe in yourself if nobody else does.
One mistake you're grateful for.
Having my daughter.
One habit young athletes need off the court.
Stay in the Bible.
Ooh. What does success mean to you now? Not 10 years ago, but right now.
Man. Peace.
Ooh. I love that. I love that. I love that. So, P, where can people follow you, train with you, or support, what it is that you got going on?
Man, so now I'm back in Texas. I'm in San Antonio. So I'm doing local training in San Antonio. However, you know, I go all over the country, all over the world. So if anyone wants to come to me, you know, come to the city, I can come to them. I know I got a lot of requests from back home, man, and I know it, so I need to get back home to give it some folks. But you can find me on Instagram at bball profit. You can. I'm also on PK Talks. I just started the page where I'm putting on my podcast, and then my business brand now is called Winners Basketball. You can find that on Instagram at Winners Hoops. You can find me on Facebook as Paris Prophetic, and you can find me on YouTube, Winners Basketball at Hoops Masters TV.
I love that. Final message to young athletes and fathers chasing a dream.
Man, final message, man, is that it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. A lot of times you'll find that the thing that once you get the thing you're chasing for, it may not feel the same as you thought it was. So make sure that along the way to making your dreams come true, you enjoy it and you enjoy the experiences, good or bad. You learn something from it. And ultimately just make sure that your life has purpose. Because if you have all the accomplishments in the world, but if you didn't have no purpose, it means nothing.
I love that. I love that. So I'm gonna end this with this quote, right? Sometimes the loss isn't a setback, it's tuition for the lesson that changes your life. Pete, thank you so much for rocking
Sir.
with me, man. This was great.
Yes,
This was
sir.
great. You threw a lot of gems at us.
Yes, sir. This
Tell
is
us
real,
your
bro.
tell us your story, man. This was awesome, man. Yeah, we got to do this again, bro.
Man, for sure, man. Thank you for allowing me to come on and tell my story. A lot of stuff that I got to speak on today. I don't think I never spoke on a podcast, but it had to be. I had to be with someone from Boston because you ain't from the 617. You may not understand.
You might not
But
even
yeah, big love,
understand.
bro. Appreciate you, man. And listen, man, very proud of you and all the work that you're doing.
Thank you,
From our
brother.
days east of Charlestown, the best high school games
Them
that you
Jays was
ever gonna
crazy.
see. You
Yeah,
ain't
for
never gonna
real.
see nothing like that. But from that to what you're doing now, man, your inspiration. Very proud of you, bro, and thank you again.
Likewise, brother. Likewise. We're going to stay connected. Live, love, light. I'll holla.